So, Bluf, you are getting a microphone. Let's play it back.
That beat will be a little drum take.
Just that melody alone. First place, Coco, you're in third place. Let's keep going. Bluf music. I'll go out on a limb to say very similar and not as well executed. The drums off top felt a little weird in here. Let's keep it moving.
All right, y'all. I'm sorry for the goofy ass intro, but I couldn't help myself. I had to cut that together. What's going on? This is Bluf, and we are going to do a beat breakdown today of the winning beat for Kenny Beats Twitch stream beat battle this past Monday. So we're going to break down what I came up with. Let's get into it. Yeah, so all joking aside, guys, you know, last week I made the top 10. They weren't really feeling the beat. They skipped over it pretty quickly. And, you know, I think there's a lesson to be learned there. You know, if you're going to be making music, you're going to have to take criticism, and you just can't let it stifle you. You can't let it keep you from doing what you love. You just got to get back to it, get back to practicing, get back to doing what you love to do. And so, you know, I woke up yesterday and was like, let's just try to make something hit. Let's try to make something hit today. And yeah, so let's get into it. All right, so the first thing I guess we should talk about is this sample here. And, you know, when you hear it, you pretty much right away, you know that has to be some kind of percussion, right? It's got to be some kind of rhythmic thing. And this guy hitting the speed bag, you know, there's like he went a couple different speeds. So there was a couple rhythms you could choose from, which was cool. You could take it in a lot of different ways. The first thing I did, though, was find a section I liked, warped it, got it to the right tempo. And then I sort of just cut out a couple of sections so that it lined up nicer, because sometimes when you hit the bag, it wasn't like the cleanest hit. So you could see that I just sort of chopped off the beginning. So that ended up sounding like this.
Hear that beat?
Nothing too crazy happening here. We're cutting out some of the low end, and then we're maybe just even boosting just a little of this low mid, just so it like doesn't feel so thin, and because it was recorded on some old shitty VHS camera probably. The important thing I do want to show is with this one is this transient shaper. I love this plugin. It's old. It fucks up all the time. It resets itself. It's a piece of shit, but I love it, and it just works. When it does work, it does exactly what you want it to do. It's got an attack transient control, release transient control, some drive that I never use, and some output gain. So the important part of this is we're cutting this release, right? So there's so much extra noise and stuff in this sample that it's just going to, especially once you master it and put some more gain on it, it's just going to bring out so much noise and stuff that you don't want. So that's with, this is without. It almost even cuts the room reverb a little bit because it wants to tighten that release transient. Kicks and snares, yeah, just regular splice stuff, nothing too crazy. There's some wonky EQs on these. Again, it was so fast. We had an hour to work, and you can't spend time tweaking this stuff too much. So literally just the quickest EQs, and then sometimes these crazy double EQs, whatever. Just trying to get them as quick as possible. Again, nothing crazy happening here. Just a couple snares and snaps stacked on top of each other. Same with the kick. A little bit of EQ rolling off the low end, running it into this Pro L limiter, just so that we know coming into the master bus, it's not clipping, it's not doing anything crazy. So all that together gives you something like this.
Hear that beat?
I started with some pianos, and they were sounding a little too chipper, a little too bright. It's an upright. So I elected to go for these Rhodes. These are in Omnisphere Keyscape. These are some Rhodes, just a preset. What are we doing to it? Just cutting low, cutting low. Looks like we had some trash saturation on it, but we turned it off. This bass line, Rickenbacker bass in contact, a little bit of saturation, some EQ, a little bit of sidechain, and a limiter. I don't think this is actually doing anything at all, but pretty simple. My first instinct when I had the beat set up was actually an 808, and I would have liked to hear what that sounded like. I think it would have given it a different feeling. There was so little time, and I didn't want to have to tune each of them to match the chords and get the lengths right and get it sounding right. I just didn't want to go down that road, so I just picked the Rickenbacker because you can just play it on the MIDI keyboard. For this part, I wanted to add a couple elements just so it felt like something changed, but it's not a huge departure. And then I just grabbed the guitar and just like tried to do the quickest little rhythm Miami Vice thing that I could, like possible. Amp simulator, cutting a ton of low end out. Again, these are just sitting up at the top. They're not trying to take up any room in the mid. Some chorus and pan knob. I love this plugin because it's got this crossover function. Now again, if you've heard people talk about this, everything below a certain amount, in this case we set it to 150 hertz, you want that to be mono. With very few exceptions, you want the low frequencies to be mono so that there's no mud. Because down there, when things are super stereo down in that range, it doesn't make it feel wide anyway. It just creates mud, and I almost always elect to use this instead of the Ableton pan in the mixer, because that's panning the entire signal rather than this, which is just cutting it off at 150 hertz.
Sucker for Talkbox.
Man, the Talkbox.
I bought one and I tried it and then I never touched it again.
And last but not least, we got to talk about this Talkbox. So this is what this sounds like. And that is starting with this synth. Believe it or not. And that's the magic of the Talkbox, is that it can take something that sounds so disgusting and digital and sterile like this. This is just a massive patch that I have saved here with some EQ, and it can turn it into something that sounds alive. What are we doing here? We're cutting some lows, cutting some highs up at 10,000 hertz, and some isotope trash. I love this plugin so much. Little bit of tape saturation and convolve. Convolve? Is that how you say that? It's basically like, I love this setting. It's like an amp simulator. And it gives you a little bit of stereo, and it gives you just this grit and this distance. Most importantly, I'll A/B it for you, but it's so, if you have such a really dry signal and you put this on it, it gives it this separation where it feels like it's not right in your ear and it's gnawing at you. Without. Yeah, pretty big difference. A little bit of sidechain. All right, there you have it. That's pretty much it. 22 tracks, nothing crazy, just straightforward stuff. Just got to work fast. Just got to work really fast. Go with the first thing that, first ideas that come to mind, and just try to make the best out of them. Try to make them work. And I think that's why I love this exercise, just as a way of getting better. How many times you find yourself, going over something with a fine-tooth comb only to not improve it that much, right? You can spend 2 hours mixing a kick and it sounds no better than when you started. So I think, it's just a really good exercise to learn how to just go with something and make the best out of it, and how to just work really fast. So hopefully there was something in there that was helpful for you guys. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Hopefully we'll do some more beat breakdowns.
Love the confidence with the 20 seconds.
Damn.
They were like, I only need a third of the time.
That's all I need. Damn. That's like when Steph Curry walks up the court and he just shoots at half court. He's like, I don't need the rest of the time. I'll just do it now.
One, two. That beat.
It's kind of a slap. Makes me feel like the Full House theme song. I mean that as a compliment.
That's
Like
really fire.
it makes me feel
I love
warm.
it. Damn, Roger Snares.
Give that beat. Oh.
That's great.